Hi guys, Arslan here, just signing in. I thought we could have a casual sense of discussion on certain areas and aspects. I mean, of course, most of my videos are not limited to public spaces. I share them only with selected friends and groups. So I've been interacting with a lot of people who are from a lot of Islamic groups and friends and family members. Trying to put things into perspective in terms of like all things combined, like science, Islam, and mind sciences. So we're not going to talk about many other belief systems here. So yeah, I apologize that it's going to be for a very limited segment. Like we're trying to totally address towards people who are mostly Muslims or people who are generally believers. So I mean, anybody who believes might have a good sense of conviction from the things that we might talk over here. But of course, it doesn't address to everyone or might not fit into everybody's model of the world, and I apologize in advance. I mean, no hard feelings. This is just my perspective, anyways. So, with all that's been going on, this is a very casual video. We're not editing it or anything. We're just gonna, talk, and maybe it's gonna be a monologue. Mostly, I'm gonna be talking, and you feel free to share your, personal comments or spaces. uh, we are in a challenge situation, and it's okay to be in situations like this. What is important is to understand what we can possibly do when we're in situations like this. So I don't know. I'm a company owner. You could be a business owner. You could be a trainer. I think the first and foremost thing that you guys could do is ensure that if you have employees, uh, you take care of them. They're like family. They've been there in the times when your business wasn't working out, or even when it will, what further ahead progress. So make sure your salaries are given out on time. If you have certain debts or something, just clear them off. These are really important factors, to be addressed. And if somebody comes out, to your door, don't like do not like not open the door and use at least wires, and we're gonna isolate ourselves. No, it's not like that. Be a little bit of helping hand. I mean, see if you could give out charity. This is a great time to contribute, even while you're sitting back at home. And it's okay for you guys to sit back at home. That's a very safe decision, a very wise one also that you would want to make. It is also hard for a lot of other people, and that's also fairly understandable. So we're going to talk about a lot of concepts here. I love the way how mind sciences has always evolved me to be stronger with my sense of belief systems as well. It's like most scientists would always say that we're fragments of memories. Some term it as memory, some term it as atomic particles, some term it as matter. Some would also phrase it like energy, something that has a movement. But we're all confined towards the limitations of space and time, and that's what basically limits us. That's what makes us human, and that keeps us very grounded. It's amazing when you find a correlation to that with the sense of Islam as well. Like, for example, I was reading up, the world is a prison for a believer, and a paradise for the unbeliever. So it's really cool. I mean, like, when you're born and sent onto this world, I mean, you start having sense of limitation. So if somebody really understands the perspective, they would understand that this life is kind of like a test and nothing more than that. And we all, everything that has a beginning always has an end as well. So there are two things that we really can't control. They're beyond our control or perspective. Like, to determine whether when one is going to be born, or to determine when somebody's going to die. So death is something that is inevitable, and we might want to talk a little bit about there. So it's also, we got to talk about things that I cannot decide and control when I would pass away, and I cannot decide when somebody would be born, or when somebody would come onto this world. So it's like also the words that the worldly life has been made very charming and very alluring for those who have adopted the ways of disbelief. So when you have a sense of belief, and talking to a lot of brothers as well, it was really amazing. I mean, I also am very fascinated with the way we have grown up in terms of community in our culture and our society. I still recall my two of my really good friends, Bilal and Race. I mean, I don't know even if they would be watching this video. So we three of us, it was very fascinating. We also would sometimes, maybe laugh about it also at times. We were visiting the graveyard and we were all together. So, these are important facets of our society. We do visit the graveyards and to have a sense of, reckoning that this is one day where we're going to land up. So rather than being, really fearful about it, we're kind of like anticipating, when we're going to meet our creator. And, you know, so yeah, I think the sense of fear is more about, how we have lived our life and what is the meaning that we have given to our sense of life. This is our context number two. So in mind sciences, it's really important what you understand things as a cause and effect, and cause and effect is basically, in a nutshell, what we say is what we were trying to aim is to be responsible, to be accountable. I think fear in one way is our, due negligence, or our deviation from sense of taking accountability and responsibility. If our brain is, like healthy and normal and can compute what responsibility and accountability really means, you see, and because when we choose to stay at cause, when we take accountability and when we act as a responsible citizen of the society, we tend to be, more progressive, and we also at that very same time we activate our reticular activating system, and considerable fact that you got to be really intelligent in terms of your sense of questioning, during this phase of time as well. So there's this really remarkable thing. So like, Allah does not change, people, unless they, choose to change themselves in their own sense of characteristics. So as, human beings, it's our choice. We make conscious and unconscious, choices in life. In fact, we're the net sum of all the conscious and, unconscious choices that we have made for ourselves. Now, no, nobody's gonna hold you accountable if you were not in your age of maturity and something happened to you, and it's okay, fine. Maybe you were with the wrong set of parents, maybe you were in the wrong set of environment. I mean, that was all accounted for a time period where you maybe not were not in sense of control. But today, if you are in that perspective and sense of control, you really can't blame, now anybody else except for your own self of, choice of actions and, consequences that you would deem fit to basically do for yourself. So it's really cool. So we want to be very sure of the, type of questions that we're asking ourselves, like, for example, if I, start questioning, God, like, why does this happen to me? You're gonna get a stupid response. You're gonna like, yo, because you deserve it, you idiot. It's gonna be really bad for you to ask certain set of questions, because these are the type of questions that takes us on two different extreme fronts. And I would really like you guys to, refer to Ustad Noman Ali Khan's videos. They're really good. There are many other, really good, brothers and sisters who have made really good videos on understanding the perspective of Islam and, mind sciences together. I mean, I see it from the mind science perspective. You might see it from some other perspective, which is very cool. So, there are extremes to it. Like, for example, either taking so much, sense of, responsibility and accountability, like say everything that God does is, that's from God, so whenever something happens to me, it's because of God. It couldn't be on maybe on that extreme tangent as well. And something like, oh, sometimes everything that happens to me is because, God, so why should I even be bothered about it? So becoming too, responsible because everything is an act of God. Now, you got to be really, careful, because if you choose your, questions right, you're going to program your reticular activating system to work for you in terms of your favor. So we're actually looking things, as only rational, not blaming anybody to it, not feeling shameful or, basically justifying the purpose towards anything, but we're taking responsibility. We're acting, with, certain sense of responsibility that, we as individuals are gonna, one day have to go away. And, are we really ready there yet? Have we really made our stance onto that particular sense of area. So think about it. I mean, like things like if there are calamities that happen, everybody's faced with challenges. It's a part of life to basically have faced challenges. It's like God gives, and basically also, it's the pure proposition of God to basically also take away from you and test you in certain ways. But life indefinitely is a sense of test, and in this sense of test, you could want God to be anything for you, and you could program your reticular activating system, and Allah will become what you basically wish you know for Allah to become for you. Like, for example, if you go around, like, saying that, well, you know Allah will be with you, no matter what happens, and God is going to be with you. So there you go. You programmed your belief system, and, like, Allah would basically, and Allah is closest to you than anything else that could be closer than you, than even you yourself. And if you basically say that, well, God did this because it was a revenge, well, there you go. Sure, God will give you whatever you want. So God will also tend to become whoever you choose God to become. And but Allah Almighty is beyond that. So why program yourself to see things that you would only want to see so limited? So you could ask for something really greater as well. Like, for example, taking and accepting things as like blessing, like as a gift, which basically bring you closer to God. That would be really awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be really honest with you. So sometimes, when I reflect, I'm scared of kind of like one of my fear factors is the sense of flight. So I did skydiving also primarily but skydiving was more for entertainment purpose. But that scare kind of kicks in when you're taking flights, and with the Air Blue crash, and all other planes crashing. I mean, and all that sense happening. So my office, buddies, they keep on asking me. I know three or four of my office colleagues are so, why are you scared of flights? And whenever they ask this question, you know, inside, like deep inside on my unconscious sense, I always know the answer because, dude, I think I got to do a lot more. So what is that lot more that you guys want to do? Maybe, it could be like perfecting your sense of prayers. For me, it was like, yeah, I would want to basically, go for my 5 times namaz. And this is an excellent opportunity for you to do so. Um, Great opportunity for you to, basically go on, so it's just like rehabilitation centers, so you could basically get rid of any sense of drugs or smoking. If you're chain smoking, this is going to be a really great opportunity for you to get through it. So it's rehabilitation. So when you ask really good intelligent questions, you really get wise with it. So what's good about this, what could be good about this, in what context would this be okay to happen. So I get sense of beautiful answers. Only as a believer, it makes me more stronger to the perspective of what Islam unfolds for us. We're looking up to the life hereafter more than even today. So I think it's a great opportunity. It's a full-time rehabilitation. You could focus more, you could recite more, you could offer namaz more, you could perfect your sense of prayers. You could be very connected and bonded with your loved ones. And in what context would this be all okay and acceptable? And it's rehabilitating the world, guys. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, whether it's a conspiracy theory or it's not, or it's a natural phenomenon or it's an epidemic, these things are part of life. They're journeys that we go through. Kind of like reminds me that we plan and then Allah plans. So, and when God plans, God plans. So that's a very, very exciting insight. You might also want to go back and reflect on all the prophets who've been through hardships and how they survived, how they made it. It's really fascinating. These are the type of things that would make you have that sense of peace in within yourself, and be a little bit less of fearful of whatever you would want to be fearful. You could make most of your incantations. My incantations are more about prayers for others. It's great. but see if you can, choose the paths that you would want to choose for yourself. Program yourself, ask yourself intelligent questions. Also, see what you can learn every single day. Also, choose to see, what you could do differently, every each time. And one humble request is like, most of you guys do understand is about respecting other person's model of the world. And this might be a really good time to do so. You see, I just listen to people, with memes, coming up on, coronavirus, they're funny, humor side. And then somebody said, shame on those people, and he started abusing those older people who were making fun of it. I mean, what's the difference between the person who's abusing and the person who, I mean, don't droop to the, other person's level. Like, for example, I got across, this some person that, oh, in Dear Sindh ke andar log jahil hain, awam jahil hai. Somebody ran and वो quarantine se bhag ke, and he went and offered namaz. It's you see, these things are very sensitive to people. What do you mean by awam jahil? I mean, awam is you and me, so who are you trying to abuse? I mean, it's okay. Most people are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. Uh, you staying at home is only flattening the curve. It's not curing the system. It's about, yeah, sure, we're going into the sense of precaution, but those who understand and are understanding the resources that they have, they're doing the best that they can with it, and some won't. It's perfectly okay. May Allah make them, saner and wiser. But you and I are nobody to judge anybody for it. And if you really want to take active responsibility, go get out there. I mean, I appreciate doctors being there, for people who are victims right now. People, like who are coming out and genuinely helping people rather than sitting back and, screwing around with the sense of wordings. I mean, that doesn't really befit, us. So we got to respect the people. I mean, I don't know what people might be going through. This is a hard time. You guys being, outstanding coaches, as being interventionist, be there. I mean, this is a great opportunity that I would want to basically coach people online. Maybe I could give 5 or 3 hours from my life, as free voluntarily, coaching, not suggesting what people should do and should not do. I mean, there are centers where they can understand what the natural emergencies are, and they could get those suitable things. One thing that I also learned from my brothers in Islam is that it was really crucial. You don't ever take, like, for example, it's not like group of people could think about, like, ye namaz aise hoti hai, chalo ab Quran and Sunnah se check kar leta hu, it doesn't match it or not. So you don't take epidemic and see if it, what Islam has to say for it, but you have Islam as a center for how to deal with everything. And of course there are solutions in our sense for not only epidemics but for economical structures, for everything. Islam has a very comprehensive solution for everything and how we should basically act and react in certain situations. I think that's what most scholars should or do basically prefer to use. That's about it. So signing off, but I hope we could connect more on these same lines. Looking forward for your views as well. I mean, we wouldn't be basically making these videos public. I'm just only sharing them for AB and LP.